stocks and bars and stocks and bars and stocks and bars and stocks.
I got my clique ready to use the money they got from jobs, encouraging, teaching them that it's not so hard. I'm doing this, making investing pop. Law is X-tro, you tuning in to Stocks and Bars. And now for part 2 of our conversation with the best financial life coach, Ericka Young. So is it fair to say, out of the people that you've helped with your life coaching, the common thing that they have, well, the thing that they have in common when it comes to getting out of debt is determination? Is that fair to say? Or what do you think they have in common?
Yes, they minimally have to have that. Consistency is the word that I tend to use most often. I have worked with over 500 individual clients, families, and I can count on one hand the amount of people who really just wanted someone else to take care of them or their financial lives. I had one woman who was just going to stay in school and avoid paying her student loans. And she told me so, right? Like, okay. So if they're bold enough to share that they're uninterested in working in order to pay off student loans, that's problematic, right? Or making it my problem that they have no discipline. Right. Because I want to help strategize and help people see their eventual future. And I want to cheer them on. And I want to give them some outside the box thinking. But if they won't take action, not for me. Yeah. So 1% of the 500 clients would I say that stand out as they had no determination, they had no consistency, they weren't willing to make any type of sacrifice. Everybody else, we found a way to make progress, even if the progress was slow or even if the progress was little to begin with, but they were able to make progress all the way up to, I had a client that paid off $200,000 in debt while I was working with them. From single mom who paid off a vehicle to a couple who paid off $200,000 in debt so that they could retire. Literally, they were at the point where retirement was, their debt was in the way of them retiring. I have seen all of it. And if you really want it, you are going to do what it takes to get there.
Yeah, you're going to get it.
Yep.
That's amazing. I sat here and laughed about the whole thing about the young lady who really gave you the idea, like, I'm just going to chill at school for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, really?
Yeah.
So I want to come to this whole thing about energy. You know, we started this whole thing, how you and I ended up with energy. Like, when you do these life coachings, is there any point in time when you're like, all right, listen, I'm telling you right now, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah. The biggest times where that has occurred is when there's a couple who needs marital counseling and their issues are showing up in their finances, but it's really a communication problem that probably shows up elsewhere. And so if we're in the middle of our coaching session and you're fighting it's calling names, we gotta, don't spend money with me. It's time for you to go get counseling, right? For your relationship, because financial coaching is going to shake up a relationship if it's not firm.
Right.
And so I think that it's important that people understand if there's more going on, I'm going to be honest, because we will go deep. We will talk about what your parents taught you as a child about money. We will talk about your mishaps when you first started earning a wage. We will talk about your dreams and are they in alignment? We will talk about, who's doing what in terms of the tasks associated with, the money. And that upends a lot. It upends a lot. And so there's just, I can tell, and usually in the very first meeting, I can tell what's going on in terms of how people speak. And and the words that they choose. And I'll be honest, and I'll just say this isn't easy. I think they need to know from day one it's not easy. And then I also will say that, this is a team sport. We have to all be a part of it, right? And so there's a lot that goes into making sure that people are ready. But I think the biggest thing is, if there's marital challenges, y'all got to go handle that first.
Take care of that first. Call me after that. So when you run into these problems, you've heard your fair share of reasons for why people spend money or whatever. But I'm curious, what is the worst piece of financial information you heard somebody tell you that they should be doing that you like?
So in terms of advice around money
that somebody told you, like, my sister said, if this happens, I do this, like, she ain't
well,
right.
I really have a particular disdain for reverse mortgages.
Okay.
So that's the very first thing that comes to mind, because someone asked me recently about a reverse mortgage. Honestly, when it comes to mortgages, okay, so I probably have several pet peeves, and I'll list a few. One is a reverse mortgage. Another is, whole life products, right? On life insurance. Let's go for term. It's always cheaper. Also, the services that tend to help you accelerate your mortgage payoff, but you have to pay for the software. Those, I think that there's a lot of schemes out there that have a helpful component, but it's a distraction from what's really going on. I think that a lot of people really just need to keep things very simple. If we keep things simple, then we're going to go down the right path. I will honestly say that one of the mistakes that I made, because I did get some advice. I got some advice. You need to be in real estate. You need to be in real estate. And one of the regrets that my husband and I have is that we got into being landlords before I think we were ready. Largely because we heard that was a thing to do. We wanted to get into this game. We wanted to build equity and blah, blah, blah. And then 2008 and 9 happened. And it's like, oh no, the bottom fell out. What have we done? And so don't do something because someone else says it. Do it because you know it's the right thing to do for you. Hands down, period. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to feel it. Listen, we have these feelings for a reason. One of these things that I learned on my journey of learning, period, is that the nervous system extends beyond the inside, right? Yeah. Our hair is actually a part of our nervous system. They didn't teach me this in school. Or if they did, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. But I learned it now for certain. Yep. And that's why, when you get into situations, the hair will stand up on your back of your neck, all this stuff. This is because that's your nervous system aware of things. If you got a feeling, you better believe that it's real.
That's right. That's right.
Your body ain't going to lie to you. This is 100% on your side. So pay attention to it.
That's right.
So that's the worst financial information. I actually got a little rebuttal to that. So you mentioned the whole thing. Because you mentioned the whole thing about the life insurance, right? One of the things that I have been doing for my kids is I actually put together a policy for them that is, I guess I can say his whole life, is IUL, is what I ended up doing. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to have them something, period, at any point in time. Something happens to me, then it's ready for them. But I do also have a trust fund in place, so everything continues to go into the trust fund. But I think term is a good stopgap for people who want to be able to get life insurance, but don't necessarily have all the money that they want, because it's cheap. It's really cheap. Yeah. The only downside to term is that they all expire.
They do.
At the end of the day, they expire, and you won't get to use it. And then you have to rely on I'm certain you're probably the term and then invest the difference. Is
That's
what it is?
right.
Okay, yeah.
That's right.
But the thing is, most people don't invest the difference.
And that's behavior.
Yeah.
It's discipline, it's consistency. And I think if we can get back to the places, and this is why we have such a hard time losing weight. It's the same reason we have such a hard time saving for our future or saving for emergencies. This is, why we have a hard time sticking to our word.
Right.
Right. It requires discipline. And I fully believe that if in one area we have trained ourselves to have discipline, we can also train ourselves in another area.
Yes.
And so, I think, and I do think that the other life insurance products are there because a lot of us have not had the discipline. There's a lot of things out there that are that way. I think one of the biggest things that I also detest, thinking about it, is pulling funds out of your 401k.
Let's talk about it.
Literally, like I would rather people just pause it, halt it, stop it, and wait until you're in a healthier position than to pull the funds out. And so I think it just speaks to that there's another issue behind how you're trying to solve this problem. And so we're masking our problems instead of really
identifying them and pointing them out. Yeah.
That's right. And doing something about it.
Yeah, people have a hard time looking in the mirror and accepting what it is.
That's right.
I recently did the same thing.
Presentation. I did a speaking event, and I played Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. And I made the audience sing it because that is literally what we have to do, is look at the person in the mirror and see what is going on with that person and not worry about everybody else.
That mirror don't lie.
Nope. Flaws and all, crust on the side of your eye when you wake up, like all of that, right? And it's real. And if you don't look at it, then you can't get the crust out. You got to brush your teeth because you don't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you need it.
It's that reminder that every day I have to pay attention to who I am being.
Yes.
Yep.
I think this is the root cause of we jumping on a tangent, but we'll come right back. This is the root cause of my personal opinion of a lot of mental issues. Is because we're scared to identify who we are. We don't do that check, and your check engine light been going off for a while, and you just putting the tape over it. You're like, I don't want to see it. Like, no, you got to see this. It's going to continue to build.
That's
when
right.
People end up in that situation, they don't like who they are, then a whole lot of things happen. But anyway, check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what the lyric is.
There you go.
So I want to get actually to this 401k thing, because this is one thing that I have too. Right, the 401k. There's a discussion right now going on with the 401k and the IUL plan. For those who are not familiar with the IUL plan, which is a life insurance product that allows you to put money into it and you're allowed to build money. It has a return on it and it emulates the S&P index. So you're able to continually get cash flow in that product versus the 401k where you would put money into it, your employer matches it. And once you put money into it, we don't recommend taking any money out. You do have the option. It would be a loan, but you have no control over it because that's a product that they control. So I want to ask you, in a day and age right now where we continue to see the workforce going remote and doing these things, and they're having a lot more fear. Do you see any type of transition of people exchanging that 401k to use an IUL or use an alternative investing vehicle instead of the 401k?
I do think that I do think that there are reasons to not use the 401k at work. One is if they don't have good investing options, if they are not matching your money.
Yeah, that match is huge.
Right. Like if you're not getting any free money and their terms aren't great in terms of what they offer you, there might be other things. Like people are investing in real estate. People are investing in their own business on the side. People are investing in, lots of different things. Roth IRA. You can go elsewhere,
Right.
and find ways to build your money, right? Now, in a 401k or a 403b or whatever plan it is that you have at work is easily accessible. And because it comes out of your paycheck, it then becomes money you've not seen,
Right.
and just makes it easy for you to live on the rest. So the whole concept of the transaction makes it super easy to continue. But be it an IUL or any of these other things that I mentioned, those might be options that you consider, especially if the one at work is not something that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but I just think for probably the majority of the population who is not going to be creative and looking elsewhere, right? Like it's just easy. Having it at work is easy.
Yeah.
I think where we tend to miss it is that I literally have one client that I'm working with right now still, and he left 4 different 401ks where they were. He had 4 different jobs, and the money was still sitting there. I'm like, no. Let's make sure you got all your money.
Roll that over. Yeah.
Roll that into an IRA. And so I had to explain the dangers in doing that and leaving that money there. Because again, it's really out of sight, out of mind. And we want to make sure that we're taking a more active involvement in saving for the future and looking at how your money is performing. It could be, making 3%. Well, if you're not getting, come on now, that's not doing anything. I did an audit. And it was a mini audit because I'm not a financial advisor, but I told my clients what to look for, and they told me that they were getting like 5%. Now, this was a few years back. It was
pre-COVID.
It sickened me that they were, at least 15 years away from retirement, and they were only getting 5% on their money. And I was like, you got to do better. I need you to go do some more research, because whoever you're working with is not giving, isn't good enough.
Not giving you they all.
No, not at all. And that would literally not fly today with inflation at 8.5%. So, we have to do our due diligence, and the further away it is from our eyes and being able to see what it's doing, the more likely you're going to have challenges.
Yeah, that due diligence is everything. And the way you do one thing is the way you do all. I'm brought up on that terminology there. So with that due diligence, I find it difficult currently right now for me to break that down for my kids, all right? Because they're the ones behind me, and I am doing my best to show them how to use their money. And I'm not going to say they're terrible, because they have really no idea what they're doing right now. And I'm giving them, the tools in front of them to make these decisions, and I help guide them through. So with all that, what is the best way that you see that you can set your child up for financial success?
Honestly, it's age dependent largely. So a child who was 3 cannot conceptualize something that a 9-year-old or a 17-year-old can. But in basic terms, when you're feeding them the cookies at their level, then they will get it, right? And there's 3 things that they need to always do. They need to always give, they need to always save, and they need to be able to enjoy spending something at all times, right? And so, and at 3, my daughter, all she wanted was a doll, right? Or some ice cream. So it's just trying to help her understand work and reward. Let's make sure you make up that bed. I want you, you know what I mean? Just the little things.
It's the habits.
Yeah. And to see daddy and mommy giving of our time, volunteering, things like that. At 17, or I should say in my household, my daughters worked, and we paid for half of their car. So they saved up half and we paid the other half. And That is huge. So that taught them savings, and it also taught them how to spend, and it gave them ownership over a vehicle. And they treated that vehicle well. We didn't have any issues with their driving. I mean, they hit the house. They didn't hit other people. How about that? When they had to figure out how to get out
That
the
counts.
garage,
Yeah.
they hit the house. You know what I mean? And had to put a window, not a window, the rear, the side view mirror on,
Yeah.
back on. I'll take that over an accident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They haven't had that, thankfully. And so, but you teach them at their level. So in some regards, giving, saving, and spending needs to always be a part of the conversation. I think we get caught up in how we save and what we say, what products we save in, and how we, make some of these big moves. And the truth is, a 9-year-old and sometimes even a 16-year-old can't handle that conversation. They can.
See that.
You want to give them vision. You want them to get used to something. And so now I have a 19-year-old who, her goal is to have $10,000 at the end of this year. And I'm like, that's amazing. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
And so the fact that that's her goal and she's in college is great, because I didn't have $10,000 when I was 19. I didn't have $10,000 when I was 25. I probably didn't even have $10,000 when I was 30. Let me just be clear, because we were out of debt by the time I was 30. But I will say that that is awesome. And so I count that a win. And so the technicalities on where it's saved and all that, that's the next level conversation. But also, I just think, figure out what they can handle at that level and keep talking to them. The way that I say talk to your partner or your spouse about money, definitely continue to talk to your kids about it as well.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to do it there. I do my best. And look, I do a self-analysis every single day of my life. All right, I could have handled this a little bit better. I could have put a little bit more intensity here, or whatever it may be. At the end of the day, I go through a check on my progress,
Right.
what I've
Right.
done, and I apply it the next day. And it's always going to be a sliding scale. Some days, the way I approach something, I'll say, you nailed it. And then, another day is like, that same approach doesn't work the same way today as it did yesterday. So, and it's always going to be a learning curve when it comes to this parenting thing. And no one gave you the manual.
That's right. And I think it's okay to share your mistakes.
Yeah.
I think that we try and shield our kids from our own mistakes, but I think it causes us to be real in their eyes. Like, I never want my kids to think that I'm perfect, because I'm not.
Right.
And then because that's an unhealthy standard for them to try and reach for. I want them to be fully themselves and know that even though we all make mistakes, that we can get up from them and we can still succeed.
That's right. Yeah, I just had that conversation today. You got to learn how to get up, because you're always going to get knocked down. Something's coming to knock you down. You got to know how to get up.
That's it. Now that's a bar.
I stay with them. I
Come
can't
on,
help
let's go.
So I got another question for you as far as life coach is concerned, right? So what are some of the challenges that you face as a life coach, approaching this? How do you accept that challenge? What do you do to approach that challenge when you face that as a life coach?
Well, anytime I'm working with someone, I think I have to remember that I have to detach from their outcomes. They have to want their outcomes more than I want it for them. If I want it more for them, there's an imbalance, and they're the ones that have to do the work.
Yeah.
So that's clear. So I have to. I had a mentor who after he met with people, he would mentally wash his hands, right? My father was a massage therapist as a career, and he always, in between clients, he would wash his hands. You just get rid of the energy from that particular client so you can move on and be your best self for that next one. And as self-care for myself, I could not be so attached to their outcomes that I was disappointed if they didn't do it my way or what have you. I always let them know, this is your journey. I want you to own it and how you go about it, because I want you to be able to sleep at night And I want you to be able to look at yourself in the morning and love who you are. And that
now
is
who got
not
the
up to me.
bars?
Yeah. So I had to detach and give them the best of myself and then let them figure out how to be the best selves that they have. So yeah.
Yeah, now see, now you own the bars. You got it all. Speaking of bars, now it's time to get to my favorite part of the show. We talking about hip hop. All right. So if you don't know how I started this journey is just by listening to music and understanding that the music that I was listening to did not feed me the way I needed it to feed me. And I became very conscious of what my consumption was. And that was diet included what I listened to, what I read, what I watched, everything. And music was one of them. And when I continued to listen to it, and I was like, this ain't giving me the energy I need, I cut it off. But here I am now creating a different vibe of energy. So I want to know, who is your favorite hip hop artist?
Oh my gosh.
What you got?
Favorite?
You got a favorite? You got a
I will say this.
all right.
This is old school.
I'm with old school.
I don't know that it's my favorite, but I get hype when I hear it.
What is it?
6 minutes. 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Dougie
Fresh
Fresher.
Like I just get hype, and I just remember the 90s. Like, oh my gosh, like that was it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't. I have lots of different music that I listen to. Now this isn't hip hop.
No, we can go there. We can go there.
Listen, I just took my mother to a concert, and we just had a good time. But it's basically a Christian artist, Jonathan McReynolds. I'm just into him right now. I love Anthony Brown. He is awesome. I love, gosh, let's see. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I would say, I feel like there are certain songs that I get hype on. And sometimes I put on my 90s. I like my 90s R&B, my 90s, hip hop and all that. I'll put it on when I'm working out.
There was a lot of feel in that. When they made that music, and there was just something about it. When these people were singing it, you felt what they were singing. Like today, I don't know. Another conversation.
I'm old school. I'm with you.
I'm old school to the core. My favorite artist is Nas. And you know what? We're going to do something a little different here because I didn't even actually think about this. So let's go ahead and let's talk about artists that you wouldn't think that I would like. And I'm going to start first here. All right? Yo, I am a huge Taylor Swift fan. I
was going to say Taylor Swift.
I'm Taylor Swift
she
to
is
the
queen.
T. Yeah.
She's queen. She may not be queen bee, but she is queen.
I like Taylor.
Okay. Taylor Swift is
Taylor.
She is a fierce performer and business woman. I've seen her in concerts twice.
Okay.
I like her.
You got it over me. Yo, listen. I remember listening to Taylor Swift and I was like, I really like this.
Yeah. I'm gonna blow your mind. So this is left field. I like different stuff. I used to have a Tim McGraw moment.
Okay.
I had a Tim McGraw moment. For sure. But hands down, my Christmas boyfriend is Josh Groban.
Josh Groban. Oh, okay. You and my wife really gonna have a conversation then.
That is,
she gets down with Josh Groban too.
Boo. I'm just gonna say, my husband knows that he needs to make room for Josh Groban. He just has an angelic voice. So
yeah, she loved Groban too. He go on all Christmas every single year.
Yep.
Groban. I'm like,
hands down. Yeah, but I mean, I like some good Mary J. I like, back in the day, SWB.
Oh, I just heard SWB. I got Week in the Knees just yesterday.
I just heard LL was coming on a tour. I'm like,
Rock the Bells.
What?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm also a huge fan of classic rock.
Oh,
I love
okay.
it. I love classic rock.
Listen to
Nobody would
you.
ever, see, no one would pin that on me. But again, I love music, period. I just like music. And if you got a good beat, I'm probably going to listen to it.
Yeah.
And then
there
I'll
you
listen
go.
to it. I'm like, okay, I feel it. And the reason why I like classic rock is because I could feel what they talking about again.
Yeah.
Like with everything they was going through, I'm like, okay, I feel you, Jim. I can get with it. All right. So, Ericka, I appreciate you spending the time with me, man. And I'm glad that we finally knocked this one down.
Yes.
After
we
running
connected.
around for a while.
The stars aligned.
Yes, yes. And at some point in time, if we get the opportunity to do it again, I would love to. And as a matter of fact, before we leave, make sure you let everybody know where they can get a hold of you if they want to get some life coaching. And then let them know about the podcast that you just started with your husband.
Yes. So you can find me on erickayoung.com, and that is my professional website. And then also the new podcast. We got some episodes out there. It's been about 4 months now.
Okay.
And we are at For Better and Worth, because we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you build your net worth. So you can have both. So that's on Instagram for Better and Worth, as well as we have a website for Better and Worth, and then we're on all of the podcast platforms.
All right. And again, thank you. And one more time before I leave, I let everybody know when they're on my show that I love them. And that's because at any point in time, something can happen to people. And there's always that one moment they're like, man, I wish I would have said X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So I'm letting everybody know when they're on my show, yo, I love you. I love everything that you're doing. I love what you are doing with your husband, being on the same page, teaching your children, teaching everybody how they can get better with their finances. The world needs more of you, and I'm glad that I was able to share my time with you and learn more about what you do too. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure, and I really appreciate it.
Yo, Dougie Fresh, let me borrow this beat for a minute, fam. Put a little finance on it. Yo, no cursing to my method, man. Every verse has a message. That's right. I am the first with the efforts. Merging hip-hop and finance, I hearse to the negative. Hydration for people who thirst for the rhetoric. Preaching positivity, I'm the church and the reverend. Changing financial lives from the worst to the best and loving it. And I meant every word when I said them. Discipline and action that we speaking to you. Listening to action you should be seeking to do. Get the gems that me and Ericka leaving for you. It's the sin what rappers used to tell us do with money. Get some rims, get some drip. Blow money easy like a whistle in the hood. Couldn't rap about stocks, turn out it's a myth. You wanna know how it would sound? This is it, the best of it. Call me Mr. Him. Thanks for visiting. Here to help you escape what you were imprisoned in. Coach, you needed to see this. Here's the images. I can help you understand this in as little as
6 minutes, 6 minutes, that get French.
stocks and bars.
Stocks and bars, stocks and bars, stocks and bars, stocks.